It is Friday night. It is a pleasure to be here. Ian, Salmon, Damian, Kavanagh and John Gibbons, and it's time to talk about the contract. That's what we're going to work through. First and foremost, Damian, we know that how we've got here is slightly checkered. I don't think it was ever inevitable. I think a manager leaving doesn't help. Sporting director chaos doesn't help. Maybe even a moment or two where it wasn't clear whether or not the people who own the football club wanted to continue to own the football club. That doesn't help. That's how we've got here. We're here now. There's these three players, and Liverpool have got to unknot something that I think is genuinely quite complicated.
It is very complicated, and I like the way you put all those factors in, because all those together, I don't think it's any one individual thing. There's also the fact that the players might have gone, well, it's been a great ride. What if this new manager's average?
Yeah.
And then I'm linked into him, and I'm signed to a club which used to be great, and going forward it's bombed. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't think that was ever. I don't think they expected to bomb, but challenging for third and challenging for second isn't where these players used to be. So I can understand all those things.
Well, we didn't expect the 90s at the start of the 90s, did we?
No, it was a shock on it. and it was an unfailing shock that took ages. You know what I mean? That was the last thing on my mind. But sometimes they can be unlucky, whatever it is. But they've usually been very good at and very cute at things. And while they have let players go, they've replaced them well. And if there's any kind of big scheme behind it where we don't want to upset the apple cart just yet, the wages that any of these players would accept, we can afford one of them. We can replace two of them if we hold the money and get these in, and we've got to keep all this close to our chest. Then that would be the dream scenario. But it sounds unlikely. It doesn't sound possible. It doesn't sound possible really. So it looks like it's turning into a slow motion car crash, and I thought at the start of the season, once the transfer window had gone, came and gone, and I understand that they would be talking to these people all the time, and what could happen, we could come to the next international break and all three of them are on the back of the airport coming into the Anfield Wrap for the big interview. We're always going to do it.
Like that, wouldn't you?
I'd love it, you know what I mean? But
all three at the same time.
Yeah, all that.
It'd just be nice to have them about.
Do you
know what I mean? Make him more praise than Liam.
But
not a big ask.
but the thing is, as time goes on, it becomes increasingly unlikely, and they're extremely marketable guys. And if they feel like they need a bit of, a TLC in that, they're not being shown it, and they used to being shown it. And then all of a sudden, there's all kinds of overtures. Then the three players we're talking about in any team anywhere in the world.
Yep.
All of them, not like one of them, and in most teams, all clubs would take them. And if Liverpool want to pay a bit less than someone else might do, then they're exposed to the risk of cutting their nose off to spite the face. So I'm not always very critical. I'm not always very complimentary. I always try to take a measured approach. But the longer this goes on, it will turn into shows like this on steads with increasing fervour as we march towards the January window. And then once it's not done by the 1st of January, it will be the only talk in town, just regardless of the result. And that's not helpful. So I think all of us recognise that. So I think the people who run our club, who have done a very good job, by the way, I don't agree with everything that they've done. I think they should have foreseen this, because it's the day job. And I think we should have at least a couple of them done by now. But by the time the show goes out, you could find out the two of them had it signed, and the other one said, it's medical reasons and whatever.
This one is Thursday night and it is Friday, and trust me, I think we'll all be delighted if this has gone off.
Be happy to be wrong.
Great if nobody ever sees this bit of the show.
But the point I'm making is you're exposed to that happening at any point in time. When would the club choose their most optimum moment to make such an announcement? But in the absence of one, people are absolutely justified in fearing the worst.
No one thinks this is easy.
I was in a really good mood when I sat down.
I think you remind you of the 90s.
I'm just
going you reminded him of the 90s.
I reminded him of the 90s.
Yeah.
And then
Sign Paul Stewart.
So now I'm just going to sit here and drink quietly.
Well, the Erdinger is nice.
It is. You're getting nothing out of me now.
He's on strike.
He stuck his ball up.
Brilliant.
I'm going to sulk quietly.
Let him, while he sulks quietly, he gets himself back on, Damian.
That was the
just say what is encouraging the fact that they're all putting the shift in.
Yeah.
They're all putting the shift in. And at least a couple of them have made overtures to say, look, I kind of want to stay.
Yeah.
Now, Liverpool have got a good track record recently of making sure that a player's legs falls off on someone else's watch.
Well, very good track record of that.
Yeah, really good. Now, the people here, there's one player that's out the question here, Trent, that's not a question. But on the other two, there could be medical data behind the scenes and go, listen, we're not giving you this money because...
You can make a bit of an argument that just bought a goalkeeper because they think the goalkeeper's legs might be able to fall off on our watch.
Yeah, and they are falling off, unfortunately, what a great guy and what a great goalkeeper. So there's all that to factor in. And so that's hard for them, isn't it? Because they've got to keep that close to the chest. And they've got to sort of be protective about that and not, you know, come out with medical stuff like that. That'd be really wrong. So it's a tough one, but I think they could have done it better. And the fact that we're sitting here talking about it is proof of that.
I don't think there's any danger of Virgil and Mo fall off cliff. Not the way to look at the moment, not the way to start the season. I don't think that's there at the moment. But I'm not a medical person. But I'm also the same as Damian. I thought as soon as we get out the transfer window, first thing you're going to do is sort the contracts. And the longer it's taken, the closer we're getting to January, the more you're looking at going, I think at least one of these is going. My genuine feeling at the moment is Trent very, very easily be in Madrid in the summer. And
the way he was blubbing at Jürgen's last day was a bit of a giveaway, I thought.
But they say he's got a close relationship now with Slot, so it could be that case that they've walked in, they've gone, right, what's the new manager like? Because we don't know. It's like it could be. Like I said to you, the 80s ends and we never see what the 90s is going to be coming. And the players who were there didn't see it coming. They all thought, you move into Souness and it's just everything's going to go forward. It's going to go forward like it was. And this is the obvious manager. And that proves to be completely, totally wrong. Now, Slot wasn't the obvious manager. I think, Xabi Alonso might have been a better sell to them in the first place. But Slot's come in and hit the ground running. But as we all know, as he said a million times, I know the rest of the country doesn't think we know this, but we know we haven't played anybody really yet. But then, neither City or Arsenal really.
They played each other.
They played each other.
That's
but
one,
other than that,
Cancels out.
other than that, it's comparative fixtures to us. There's nobody it's not like they've played the entire last season's top six and we've only played Man United. We have played Man United. We've also gone to Milan and won. We're doing well. We look like we've got a manager who knows what he's doing. But it could be that they still need a little bit of time. It could be the next 8 weeks from where we are now might be the most crucial 8 weeks we could ever have, because the way the games go, but also the contracts in the background.
We'll know.
Everything by Christmas we'll know.
We'll know at the end of the year. At the next international break, if it isn't done, it's not getting done. They'll have had enough evidence to watching the new coach. There's all the other reasons about all this, that. If we're doing well, and you get to the next international break, and you haven't signed, I hope they've worked out who's coming next.
There's a couple of things where there's loads of reasons where to feel for Richard Hughes. There's loads of reasons where I sort of feel for Liverpool in a way, but there's a couple of things where I sort of lose a bit of sympathy. The first one, I'd love to know why they only gave Trent 4 years. All that time ago, even when he signed that contract, like we were all made up, but I thought, why did they give him 4?
A few people said that on shows at the time.
Why 4?
Well, that might be his choice.
It could be, so that's why you'd sort of like to know, but then, I don't know, I was going to use a pint analogy but it didn't work because it go the other way. But if someone says, "Oh, I'll give you 20 quid to come for 4 pints," or 30 quid to come for 5, do you know what I mean? There's a sort of a way of doing it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm sure he could have been persuaded. Yeah. So at the time, I always felt like 4 years. The problem with 4 years is you're having the conversation again in 2, or we're having the conversation again in 2.
That mark of 2 is something at the moment where you change sporting director, so I was only on part-time job.
And that was Michael Edwards. Well, Michael Edwards was at the wheel then, so that's the current, setup, if you like, just sort of back then. So I'd love to know, maybe, if Michael Edwards was sat here now, he'd say there's a million reasons and blah 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 and whatever. But it always felt to me like it was a little bit short-sighted to only give him 4 at that time. And then the other thing is, all you really care about is, are we going to have a better squad the next season than we are the last one? And I think, listen, we're all emotionally attached to this football. As Chen, because he's from Liverpool and he feels like one of us. Mo Salah's, he's one of the best players who's ever played for the club. Virgil's the captain. So as fans, you've got emotional attachments to them. But if you look at it from a sporting director point of view, or you try and take emotion out of it, the main thing is the squad better next year? So there is obviously a way. It's difficult, but there is a way that all 3 of them can leave in the summer and we end up with a better squad. Yeah. But they've spent all last summer saying how hard it is to get by players and didn't buy anyone apart from a goalkeeper who's not here. And so... And Chiesa. Yeah. So we haven't seen much of recently and we had a team desperate to sort of get rid of. So if it's really hard to find and buy players who are good enough to play for Liverpool...
Your point is you can't have it both ways.
No, you can't have it both ways, but also as well, like if it's true that it's really hard to find players, and then buy players who were good enough to play for Liverpool, then maybe he needs to try and work a little bit harder to persuade all three of them could be in an all-time 11. If Damian sat here now and did an all-time 11 and put all three of them in, you wouldn't fucking quibble. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of that level of players. So if it's as hard as they say it is to even find someone who's Liverpool standing, never mind all-time 11, then I just think you've got to work a bit harder, and you've got to accept that people are going to be a bit panicky, but because, you know, they couldn't even replace Buddy Thiago in the summer, never mind Virgil van Dijk.
Great point. You know, it's really, the whole thing about they can't have it both ways is there, isn't it? And then, so if they don't solve these, there's going to be really massive gaps.
I think
not the squad, the starting 11.
Well, what I think is difficult, Damian, and again, we will always say, and we don't think that the job's easy, there's a lot of moving parts. There's the idea of, you know, I'd argue, if we didn't have the current right back, I think we'd be sitting here right now with the same number of points, genuinely, and saying we've got one of the most exciting young right backs in the world.
Yeah, I agree, but that's a good point.
But, so you've got
I was going to say positionally. It's a
good point.
You've got that fella. But my point is, you've got that fella coming through. So he literally exists, and we've seen what he's capable of as a footballer, and we think he's the right personality as well. So you can say that's.
And you would worry for his progression and his potential if he keeps sense.
So you've got that. Yeah. So you understand that there's a tension. Then you understand that from time to time it's difficult to buy players. You see that all the money that the club gets, you see where it goes, you know, it's in the accounts. We see that a lot of it goes on wages. We know that people are getting weighed in. We also know that there's other tensions around UEFA limits on how much you can spend on football from next season moving forward that you've got to get in. And my point here is, though, I'm on a lot of shows where everyone and me is saying we all understand how difficult this is, but then the next phase of this is, yeah, but you're not paid to do this job.
Yeah,
and you're paid to unknot this. So I think we can keep saying, and this is difficult for this reason, and this is, you know, you've got that there, you've got an emerging talent over here, you've got the idea of, you know, and I'm going to ask you all in part two, top of part two, I'm going to ask you who should be the highest paid player at Liverpool. I'm going to ask all three of you at the top of part two, and I'm going to demand an answer, because never in football history is the answer to that question being the right back. As an example, it's never been the right back, but I'm going to ask you who should be the highest paid player. So I think you can understand this, you can understand that there'll be parity over here, or someone will be saying, well, I want 80% of what he's on because he's the right back. Yeah. Even if he's the captain or the vice captain, he's still the right back. I understand. You can keep saying you understand all of that, but it's their job to unknot it. And
I'd go
there's
further.
Nothing else in the public domain.
It's their job to prevent it becoming a knot.
I would say on the plus side for Richard Hughes, we've heard Man United complaining that, you know, they're in the current position because they've had to rebuild the entire backroom staff, had to rebuild structures. Yeah, what have we just done this summer, lads? We've just done literally the same thing, and we're a lot better than you already. So, that's the plus side for Richard Hughes, because he's come in and he's done better than Man United have, just in terms of getting the manager in, making it steady, getting the manager's people in, getting, you know, a couple of signs. So, the new goalie whose name I'm never going to be able to pronounce.
That's really, it's quite easy. I'm crap at them. I still can't get percentage right. But
Mamardashvili. Mamardashvili, right?
So
just a lot of letters, it takes you out.
It just takes you out, gets in your head.
You need a bit of a run-up panic.
He's made Creven sound easy.
That's easy, Kev. So Mamardashvili, that's a great signing, because we can see we've got the evidence in front of us right away that Alisson's not going to get any fitter. If his hamstring's gone again now, his hamstring will go again. And it will go again, and that's gone under like very little duress.
And I think that's a really good point. And I think that we've got to have a degree of confidence here on the people who run our club, because of the track record of what they've done. So okay, we've had a good.
And the brought this manager in.
Yeah. The most important sign of the summer was to get the manager right, the head coach right. That's a fact. But it's not in isolation. Yeah, it does. Yeah. So it's not in isolation, and the way that they've succession plan for the goalkeeper with the other fella.
Mamardashvili.
Yeah.
I can say it now.
Swallow that and say it. Right, okay. So there is a Wales where I can see, well, okay, and I think probably the argument might be more not how much you're getting, how long you're getting it for, and you can understand that.
And I think that is the key argument.
And I think that's, you know, we failed to sign Laudrup over the length of a contract, didn't we?
Yeah.
A long time ago.
That's
so you can understand them protected, so so it's sort of like, well, well, I might, you know, say Virgil says I want 3 years or whatever, Liverpool say you can't have that, you know, you'll be such and such and whatever, you know, but if it's going really well and he wants his legacy and whatever, so if it starts off well, and then one of them might go, you know, I'll sign like a shot if the other two do.
Well,
And that's all about, so...
There might be one who's saying, well, I don't want to sign. If
yeah, exactly.
I want more money than him. And you don't know what those moving
so there's
parts
all,
are.
and it's like playing battleships, and we don't know what's on the other side. But I do think we should have a degree of confidence here, because it's easy to be doom talk. And here we are, struggling along at the top of the league, right? These players are putting a shift in. At least a couple of them have pretty much said, I want to stay here, you know. And then the other one's a local fella, right? So that, you know, so that there's that, and there is a world where you could see Liverpool could easily, by the next international break, lock 2 of them in. One of them goes. They've got the wages that they would have spent. You bring the right person in. And like John's said there, it's all about, is the squad better as a whole next year? There's a number of home national players that you've got to look at when you're talking about these things, and that might be a consideration. So it's a brilliant talking point. Brilliant talking point. This conversation,
Can I just throw my other Richard Hughes point in, my butt on this one? It's not the job he's doing. This is the job he wanted. So he literally wanted this job. He's come to do this job. It's not like he didn't, it's not like he's arrived and go, would you want the contracts are due up? No one told me that. He knew what was on the table. He wants to sort.
Transfer marks. Yeah, could have wanted it up before the interview.
I knew it, so he must have known it.
There is. It's worth saying there is a budget, and what I mean by that is there's an amount that Liverpool want to be spending on wages. So it's how you're addressing that budget to get the best possible outcome, which is what we want is win everything, and then we'll cater our hopes and dreams back from there. There is a budget, and that is something which, you know, they've got to work with it. Every team's got one. Literally every team on the planet's got one, and how much they're going to want to spend on the talent in terms of the wages, and how you divide that up is a massive part of this job. It's important, I think, to remember that bit, John. Whilst again saying to Ian's point, but this is what you signed up to do. You asked to do this job. No one made you.
That is right. That is right. Listen, and Liverpool will have an amount that they want to spend and can spend, and they need to get value from that, and that comes from sort of every player. You know, you can't say, well, we'll overpay on a couple, we'll look to underpay on a couple of others. I think they'll look to get that, you know. But I think the problem is right now it's all 3 of them, and that's the issue. So you can try and be sort of sensible with it. If Chen signed tomorrow, and then Virgil signed, and then they just sort of come out, either directly or indirectly, probably indirectly, and said, listen, we feel like Salah's a bridge too far. I think you could sit here and go, well, all right, who's the next one? Who's the next Mo Salah? You found that one, brilliant, find the next one. I think we could all sort of do that and just say, look, listen, you know, Salah wants at least parity with what he's on now. We don't think it's worth it. We're going to sort of step away from Mo. He's been a brilliant player. He's going. We're going to go and buy the next Mo Salah. I think a lot more. That'd be easier to get your sort of head around. It'd be easy for me, only speaking for myself. I'd be go, oh yeah, all right, go on, let's have a summer to speculate who the next Mo Salah is. That'll be a laugh, and let's get him in and let's see what he can do. The problem is it's all 3 of them, and so I think, you know, there's only so many savings you want to make in your head.
You're back in a second, but I'm going to ask them who should be Liverpool's highest paid player. I am going to ask them it. I'm going to insist on an answer. Erdinger, Nova Scotia, as ever, a pleasure.
And Erdinger, please. Stop! Don't forget the best bit.
Welcome back. We are in Nova Scotia. Always a pleasure to be here. Under where the office is, in Avenue HQ, opposite the Open Eye Gallery. I can't do any more. Museum of Liverpool's there. I can't do any more in terms of coordinating. If you're ever in around, I actually ate here this week and the food was absolutely tremendous. So do pop in if you've got the opportunity to do so. I am with Ian, Damian, and I am with John as well. Who should be Liverpool's highest paid player?
Mo Salah. Mo Salah. I think if I asked me 5-year-old lad, he'd say Mo Salah, and there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah.
So I think he
Would
scored.
you let him run a multi-million-pound business?
Yeah, it's big as well, you know. Sorry?
Would you let him run a multi-million-pound business?
Possibly not. No, that is fair enough. But
extravagance.
I give him an opinion on this. I still do think push comes to shove, he's our best player, and you can talk about the global icon stuff and stuff like that, and what he means to have Mo Salah at Liverpool from a brand point of view and everything else. and all that stuff, and some of it's true, but as a football fan, I just think push comes to shove, he's still our best player.
I'm with John.
Mo Salah?
Oh yeah, for the things he said. But then it can also be given some context. You could say, well, all right, listen, he's only going to be here for another 2 years or whatever it is. And we can talk about money later. And okay, it's the same for all these. We don't have to pay a transfer fee. But, you know, for example, Trent, you're only a bit behind him. And we've just given you 5 years because John didn't want you to have 4. Do you know what I mean? That, you know, so I think you can do that, and you can talk about the global thing, and we can talk about this. And I think you can have a conversation in that changing room and say, yeah, well, all right, yeah. You know, it's not like you're giving him this much money on a 5-year contract. It will be to make sure that in the immediate now and in the near-term future, you are going to be successful because you've got this player who quite clearly is a supreme athlete who's going to defy the odds, defy the logic most people have about age, and continue at this level. And so he's worth that premium, but you're getting a bit less, but you're getting it for longer. So I think you can, I think you could contextualise. I think that make a lot of sense to people. Yeah. So at first it doesn't sound like that. So Virgil's the 3rd highest earner out of those 3, for me, for the way of the logic I've given to that. So it should be more.
Taking a drink is a terrible time, but he told you to drink it before and say Mamadashvili. Watch your
Mamadashvili.
There you know, nailed it.
I'm only halfway down now, but I took it at a perfect time because it gave me a little bit more time to think.
Oh, you go.
I think parity. I think it's parity between the 3 of them, the same wages.
Well, a cop-out, but I like it.
It's a good cop-out, but you're giving Trent 5 years, you're giving Mo 2, and you're giving Virgil 3, because that's respective of each of their ages and the likely declination of their.
And you tell them all that that's what they're all getting.
Yeah, you tell them that's what
that's
you're all.
That's an interesting point.
Sit them all down.
Yeah.
Bring your people in with you.
With a stick and a flip chart.
Yeah.
That's
interesting.
You're giving Trent 5 years. You are the vice captain. You will be the next captain. We know that you're still going to be playing for us because he's what, 26 now?
Yeah.
So you're going to be playing for us when you're 31. This is us saying 350 grand a year for basically the rest of your prime career.
Basic with bonuses.
With bonuses.
Easier for Mo to get bonuses because bonuses tend to be based around things like goals, maybe.
Goals, assists, and things. You know, Trent obviously will come out on the high on the assist side of things. But then you're saying to Virgil and to Mo, well, you're getting the same. But you've got 3 years because you're 2 years younger than him. You've got 2 years, and we'll talk to you again in a year's time. And we will roll over that 350, because we know from the reports, we don't know anything. Trent supposedly is asking for 350 a week. So if you can give 3 and 350 a week, that's $1 million a week. 52 million across the year. You'll make up the money somewhere. So go.
I like that somewhere.
Parity across the 3.
Can I get you my budget means for the Anfield Wrap? Because I like that spirit.
I'll sort them out just with vague promises.
What I would say about Salmon as well,
I just summed up my retail career there, by the way.
What I would say about Salmon as well is I think he's the only person who's able to say, I think I can earn more elsewhere, and I think that's true for Salah.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it is for the other 2. I actually think if Trent goes to Madrid, he'll probably have to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
And I think he would.
The weather's great.
And you get to pay for Real Madrid. There's loads of possible reasons, but fucking hell, Christ, I wouldn't want their wage. But I don't even think Ian Salmon can box that.
You can't square that circle.
Like Vinicius Junior's apparently wanting a wedding and stuff like that. So I think that helps here as well.
You know, okay, it's been Friday night, loads to get into. Brilliant stuff from Ian, from Damian and from John. Nobody said it was easy, but you signed up for it.